who's who and what they're here for, and we understand the different stakeholders within the industry. So now this is an opportunity for everyone who's been listening and taking notes, I hope, to pose questions. Like I said, I'm going to stress it again. Time constraints. So questions need to be brief and they need to be precise. Okay, so that we don't waste any time, because this is a rare moment that we have and it's valuable, so we must use it accordingly. Also, we've been joined by another panelist, Dr. Joel Baloyi, who is a corporate and entertainment law consultant. Okay, so we do have him as well, so if you do have any questions in that direction, then we do have a panelist who can address your questions and hopefully shed some light on some issues or gray areas that you might have. Okay. Now, just before we start, very important. This is a forum, and I understand we all have pertinent issues that we want to raise. We have questions that are very important to us as individuals and as a collective. But what I want to urge is that this is nothing personal. What's happening here is nothing personal. It's business. And therefore it should be conducted as such. And the questions are questions about the industry. And what we do know is that the reason why we're here is because there are issues, there are problems that need to be addressed. With that being said, we all understand there are problems, but this forum is for us to address problems, and the main focus is on solutions. So this is not a time for us to sit here and dwell on what the problems are, because we all know what we want is outcomes-based, an outcomes-based approach. How can we tackle the problems that we have? And luckily we have everyone here who's going to hopefully help us. And also, with that being said, sometimes, and as artists in this room, we are emotional creatures, because that's what our work entails. An actor without any emotion is, you might as well be a machine, I don't know. But we work very much with emotions. But now, what I want to urge everyone is to remember that what we're doing here, this is not a battlefield. This is a forum to address issues and hopefully come out with solutions. So what I will ask from everyone is that let's try as much as possible to be rational and not emotional. Nah? Because sometimes, as we all know, emotions cloud judgment. So let's try and be rational and use this opportunity to address our questions. And also another very important thing, we can't all speak at the same time, but we can sing together. So, if you have a question, you raise your hand and you wait for your turn to speak. Nah? There will be mics going around in the auditorium for people to answer, to pose their questions. But also, guys, let's be respectful of each other. When someone asks a question, the rest, please keep quiet. I know this sounds like, this is very tedious, because, it's like a known thing, but sometimes we do happen to get out of time, so I just want to remind everyone. And I do trust that everyone will adhere to the ground rules, if you like, of this discussion. Yeah? So let's listen and give each other a chance. Let's be respectful and pose our questions and be precise and brief. Okay. So, where are the mics? Where the mics are? Oh, okay, at the back. Okay, cool. So I think we can kick off, right? So everyone has heard what the experts have to say. So if there are any questions, please raise your hand and you can ask your panelists. Yeah, can we have a mic here in front, please?
I'm going to ask one to start, and I think as much as we have to keep. as much as we do have to pay tax, what is the 5%? How did we get to that percentage? And I don't know who I'm going to pose this to, not be able to help here. Everything I've raised in the letter is a contractual thing. It is insights to the contract. How do we solve that problem? Because that is the gist of everything.
We do have mics on the table. So the question is posed to SARS, right?
Thank you, Anede. The 25% taxation. Let us start with the definition of the nature of work that we are involved in. The nature of work, or the definition of the nature of work that we are involved in, it's not on a continuous basis. So what that then does is that you find yourself in one particular financial year having multiple sources of income. And by multiple sources of income, you could have earned an income from one production house and an income to another production house. Then let's play out this scenario. If you were taxed as an ordinary employee, so that means you would have to pay your taxes just like anyone who's, say, employed at a department of a government. So my advice in this instance, because actors and performers are considered for the purpose of income tax independent contractors. Now a burning issue here becomes when you are issued with your IRP5, your certificate of income. What we have seen is that the production houses or your employer for that particular period of time, they issue a certificate with an incorrect source code. So that's where the whole thing started. If you will go have a look at your IRP5, you get issued an IRP5 with a source code or income source code of 3601. You are independent contractors, you must reject those IRP5s because your income must be issued with a source code or income source code of 3616. And it then becomes cumbersome. Once you have submitted this 3601 certificate and we have assessed it, because now what you have to do, when you approach us, we say, go back to the employer so that they can change this code. And I want to make this impartial, that these are the issues that we should address. You don't say, I've been given an IRP5, therefore what? Because they are issuing you with IRP5s. If they call you independent contractors, why are they issuing you with an IRP5 that is a 3601 income source code? That is one of the issues that has been brought to our attention. And in some instances, taxpayers feel aggrieved.
Sorry, before we continue, I did say, just for the sake of order, if you have a question, raise your hand. Okay? So if I do understand, also, sir, the question I think is also on my mind. Can you please just give a bit of clarity on this 3616? Exactly what it is. 601. Which one do we qualify for and give clarity on it?
Okay, for the purpose of income tax, each and every person that has provided a service or that has been in the employ of an employer, once they have been paid, they have to be issued with a certificate of income, which I refer to as an IRP5. Were you aware of it? It's not only the amount that goes into your account. Once the amount has gone into your account, come the end of the financial year and you have to be provided. The employer is obligated for that matter. It's not that they're doing you a favor. They are obligated to provide you with a certificate of income. So that certificate of income would be a summary of your earnings and a summary of your tax deductions. So your certificate would tell me you worked for X period, for this period to that period, you earned this much, this is what was deducted by SARS, this was what was deducted by UIF if there is UIF. Now, in that certificate of income, there's an income amount that goes with a source code, because each and every, remember, incomes are different. You have salaries, you have overtimes, you have bonuses, you have gratuities. I'm just giving an example. This is a text example. I'm not saying that's all what you have. So each and every income would be or would have a descriptor of a source code. So if you go to your IRP file, you have an amount that you have earned, and next to it you have a descriptor, which is the source code. So it's very critical that once you are issued with that certificate of income, you look at the amount firstly, and you look whether the amount is affixed next to the right code. So some of the certificates that I've seen and that I've been privy to, they are populated with an incorrect source code. Now here's the catch. Employees think that SARS issues those IRP files. We don't issue IRP files. It's the employer who issues an IRP file, and it is the obligation of the taxpayer or employee to submit their IRP files to SARS. Now, we don't correct IRP files because they are not issued by us. Remember? We don't correct them. So when you come to me and you say, Rakosa, please submit my return, I say, well, look, this source code is incorrect, because it's not applicable to the people who are doing the nature of work that we're doing. So it is the obligation or the responsibility of the employer to change that source code. So be vigilant about the source code that are in your IRP files. Be very careful about those, because you are being issued with IRP files that have incorrect source codes. Thank you.
Sorry, sir. I think what's needed is for you to explain. What is the source code for access? What's the question? Okay. There's a hand over there. Over there. There's a question over there. Oh, sorry. Okay. Your question, yeah.
Hello? Hello everyone. All of you look gorgeous, by the way. So I have a question for SARS, right? I think the main problem here is the collaboration between these big companies. And I think there's a lot of discrepancies between the bureaucracy behind it, but wouldn't you think it would be better if, just like for an insurance company or any corporate company, that artists in their respective fields and respective platforms have a basic? Just like when if I've worked in an insurance company before, I was call center vibes, and you get a basic. You get 5,000 Rand flat, that's guaranteed. No matter how many clients you got that month, that 5,000 Rand is guaranteed. And then on top of that, you would get your commission, right? But now, in our industry, we don't have anything like that. That would make it easier for you to track where we get paid and how we get paid. Because in that basic, SARS is directly connected to each and every insurance company. I know this because in that basic, it says there, this amount is being taken away for tax, this amount has been taken away for insurance, whatever it may be, right? But it means that you guys are directly connected to the insurance company. And therefore, if we get underpaid or overpaid, you already know, right? But now in our system, if I don't have a basic, I can get paid 1.3 for a movie. You don't know about it, but you still want my tax, and my agent still wants my percentage. So I just want to know, wouldn't it be easier if you change the category that you placed that in? What you said what, freelance contractor? I think you need to get independent, right? Sorry. I think you need to re-evaluate exactly how you look at us. Because we're not just that, you know? I can even speak for a couple of producers that might be here. Let's say I'm waiting for my payment from SABC, right? And I've already handed in my product with all the episodes and everything, right? But I haven't been paid by SABC, which means my actors haven't been paid, and my crew hasn't been paid. And now, because of this delay and this latency, there's costs and expenses being incurred already. By the time the money comes, it's punitive. It doesn't even, it has no weight, right? So if you're not keeping track of the people that are supposed to pay us, how are we supposed to pay you?
Hi everyone. I have a question based on what's actually I think I'm going to direct it to anyone who can answer this question. Now, we cannot deny the fact that we are in a highly commercialized industry that has grown increasingly so with the introduction of social and digital media as a whole. Now, what has that done is it has placed some trained performers at a disadvantage because some of them may not be viewed as commercial as some who are trending on social media, right? Now, in terms of deciding how much, or formalizing the industry and deciding salaries, who then gets paid more? Is it a trained performer or an untrained performer who is seen as more commercial? Because the way I see it, I cannot have a qualification for performance and get paid less than someone who doesn't.
Okay, sorry, Jack. Before we move on, thank you very much, Nolwazi, for that question. There's one question that we skipped. We will answer your question. Before we get to that question, Jack, can you please elaborate on the contractual question that came from Moses Watisu?
Yes, thank you.
The question relates to the unfair nature in which contracts are drafted. Now, there are some essential facts that we need to bear in mind, all of us in this room, whether you're on the panel or whether you're participating on the other side. It is common cause, it is basic knowledge. As a freelancer, your only formal relationship lies in the contract that you sign. You sign a contract, that is it. It is essential that we bear in mind here that there is no other relationship that exists outside this contract. All we have is what we negotiate. Now, who sets the terms for this negotiation? Is it the actor? No. We don't get to decide what we would like to see in our contract. We don't get to decide whether somebody is going to be making sure that there's a safety coordinator, if there's going to be a stunt performer, if there's going to be any kind of protection for you. All that you have is what the producer is going to give you. In the terms of a TV contract, what we sign is a contract that comes from the broadcaster. The producer didn't make up that contract. The broadcaster created that contract. The broadcaster will say, this is the standard SABC freelance artist agreement, or the ETV actors contract, or the Mnet actors contract. They will pass it down to the producer because the producer is the one who's going to set the cost. We do not have any negotiating power in that. So it will always be structured in favor of the broadcaster. it will always be there to favor the broadcaster and the producer. To a lesser extent, the producer, because they too have to jump through a lot of hoops in order to secure their part of the relationship. But ultimately, the one who sits on the bottom end of that entire structure, the one who is on the lowest rung of that ladder, is the actor. And that's the one that we're required to sign. And in fact, we get to feel, we are made to feel as if they're doing us all a huge favor. Now, what will it take in order to level the playing fields? In order to insist that there are mechanisms contained in that contract that's going to see for the actor as well? What will it take? It's not going to take a sit down with the producer. This, in fact, is the very reason that Colin, who is the founder member of Saga, 12 years ago had that meeting with Mnet and said, but you can't take out this commercial exploitation clause. It's unfair, it's wrong. And Mnet said, we don't care. If you want to go to a tribunal, go ahead. Knowing that there is no industry tribunal. So, where we are right now, I'll paint you the picture of how unfair this is. If you disagree with the terms of your contract, you'll say, okay, I'm not going to sign it. Sis Batiswa knows this very well. Why? Because you disagree with the contract. If you don't sign that contract, is there a formal relationship that exists between you and the producer? No. There is nothing that exists because you did not sign the contract, because you do not agree to the terms. Which means, as long as you did not sign it, you cannot take it to arbitration. Why? Because there is no relationship. You did not sign the contract. Okay, let's say you decide to sign the contract. And you say, now I signed the contract. Now I have a relationship. Now I can take this to arbitration. You think you can do that? No. Why? Because you signed the contract, didn't you? So this is the catch-22 that we are in. The only way for us to address the terms that go into that contract is if we are able to lobby in terms of collective bargaining. And I'm going to answer the question that came up previously, where it was Sis Pumla who suggested that we form a union. Perhaps I didn't say it clearly when I introduced myself and Saga. Saga is not a union. If Saga was a union, we'll have you in our name. We are freelancers. I don't know if SARS might have mentioned that point, or Bra Peter might have mentioned that point. I'm not sure if I might have neglected to mention that point. As freelancers, you are not protected under labor law. Perhaps I mentioned that too. The only law that exists in this country that allows you to create a union is the Labor Relations Act. I'm not sure if I might have mentioned that earlier. Because as freelancers, we are not protected under the Labor Relations Act. We therefore may not unionize. Do you not think that in the years of our exploitation and abuse, that the suggestion that we unionize, might we not have done that before? Might we not have created that union, that mechanism in order to see for us before? Or are we that stupid? Are we that disorganized that we cannot take the most obvious thing in the room to say, yes, let's unionize? May I reinforce this message once more for the benefit of everyone in this room. As a freelancer, you are not protected by the Labor Relations Act, which is the only statute in this country that empowers you to unionize. There we have it. So, if you do not have a union, and if you do not have labor law, the only thing we can do, and this is Saga's proposal, is to demand from the Minister of Trade and Industry, the Department of Labor, that the terms of labor law and the scope of labor law is extended to include freelancers so that we may have collective bargaining rights. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Also, Prapita is going to elaborate on that. But before we move on to the elaboration of Prapita, I just want to take a question from Unolwas pertaining to remuneration, right? about remuneration when it comes to trained and untrained actors, right? So, Prapita, do you mind taking that onto your...
I just want to add on to the issue of the contract, Jeff, that you can talk about a contract that is perfect for you as an artist, from a production house, producer, or from a broadcaster. But I found in my experience and where I started in my career, it wasn't the contract that gave me or paid me the remuneration I deserved. It was my agent. Surprised? My agent, my first agent was Winnie Lee. She's still my agent. I've been with her 38 years. And why I was with her, because Winnie made sure that she read my contract very well. And if she didn't agree with any contractual issues in that contract that protect me or that pertain to me, she would refuse me to do that job. She'd say, either you're not doing this job. She'd start first with the remuneration. How much are they paying me? It was during apartheid then. Anybody in the same role with the white person, the white person would get 5 times more than me. So she was able to say, no, he's an actor, he's doing the same job as that white actor. He deserves this. And she made sure that she had lawyers who would back her up on that. I mean, she would take the contract to lawyers. So you need to make sure as well, as a freelance actor, that as Jack says, nothing protects you. So your agents who are today actually are not doing their job. They just collect your commission and they do fuck off. And for nothing. They don't come on set, they don't check where your status in terms of your popularity or your rating or your level and how many things they don't even ask if you have a CV or anything. They don't know. They just wait for producer to say, we want such a face, such agent, and then they pick up anybody from the street and that's it. So start with your agents as well. Choose your agents, select your agents very carefully. Demand what you deserve from your agent. They mustn't take your 10 or 15 or 25% without delivering from their side. Anyway, moving on the trained and not trained. Again, it is true. We trained. We worked very hard. We paid fees. We became loyal and committed to the industry. We disciplined. We're professional. We do the right thing. And then somebody comes who's not trained and starts earning more than you. As you were saying, my lady, that is the worst. And I think today it's more rampant. It's very bad today. It's so bad. It hurts me where I am today that broadcaster or a producer can tell me that, Peter, you don't deserve that. We can get any old man to do that. Or we can get any old, young director to do that. Well, in fact, they're actually, what happens is you can see the material that's out there on the screens now. You can see if an actor is trained. You can see if a director is trained. You can see if they've been picked up on it. There's a very, very big difference in being trained and just being from idols, talented. So, yeah, training is very crucial, and I think that's one of the elements, that's one of the issues you need to include in the contract. That is going to be drawn up and together with other stakeholders to serve actors. We should protect ourselves against wherever they come from and take our jobs. After we've been trained, after we have track record and experience for so many years. Okay? Well, the issue of training and all that. And of course, your training should affect your remuneration. If you are not trained, really, and a producer or a broadcaster wants to employ you, that should go into your audition thing, that trained in what, how far did you go, how much have you done, and all. So your remuneration is based on that. For example, it's going to be a bit tricky because sometimes you get somebody who comes in, does 2 productions. By the 3rd production, they are a household name. Yeah. Or even by the first production they ever do, trained or not, they just have talent, they're good. Suddenly, they're up there, their ratings are like 19 million viewers, like generations, and they're holding a lead role there, and they demand, because I'm the broker, I'm the one who attracts the viewers, I need so much money. You have a right to say so. You have a right to value yourself and say to your agent, you're going to fight on this basis. No longer on the fact that I belong in the business, on the basis that without me, this series is not going anywhere. And it's true, we've seen producers take a chance and fire actors, thinking that they can replace them with any face. They have suffered somewhere along the way, the producer. Their ratings go down, but it's just unfortunate that in South Africa, nobody actually enforces a law or a rule that says you have to keep this actor. You have no reason to fire them. They employ you for 10 years and then they give you 3 months notice to change and make it 180-degree turnaround in order to take care of your life. When you were earning 1.2 million a year, suddenly you are to zilch a year in 3 months' time. What happens to you? What happens to your children? What happens to your life cover, your medical aid? What happens to your bond, your car? What happens to your life? That's why we commit suicide, so they mustn't blame us. Anyway, I think that covers more or less what.
From my side, so we know what it is, but who can we approach to get that regulated?
Regulation will have to come from the industry itself. If we are not asking for what we want, we run the risk of allowing the broadcasters and the producers to set our rates for us. They already do. We have missed the boat on this. And they're taking full advantage of us, which is why I said in my opening statements, the actor's voice has been taken out of the acting industry. They're the ones who are determining how much we pay, they're determining the rates. Now, when it comes to rates, we have to be careful what we do. It's very easy for us to decide, okay, well, let's talk to this organization, that organization, and then these famous actors, and they can decide for us. Please remember, there is a competition commission in this country that works off this exact scenario, where if they perceive that there is a prejudice to the producer, to the broadcaster, or even to the audience itself, the competition commission will come down on us as a group, as a collective, to say, what you are doing in setting rates for yourself was collusive. It was collusive behavior. It's prejudicial, and in fact, it's anti-competitive. So we have to be very careful how we go about determining rates. So I'm saying, when we decide to talk about rates, let us be very careful not to sit to talk only about rates. We need to create an organization, a group of organizations, with SAGA and that organization and the other organization, and they all sit together, and then they can determine things like rates, as one example. Because the recommendations that come out of that vehicle will then be easier to sell to the minister, it'll be easier to sell to the Competition Commission, because they don't just now see us as, oh, so you guys are sitting and determining rates for yourself. No, the mechanism has got to be collective bargaining. Now remember this right, the right to bargain collectively, we don't have yet. Which is why the SAGA recommendation has always been, we have got to get the ministers, DTI, Labour, to agree to extend the scope of labour law so that actors may have the right to have collective bargaining. Now this is what we referenced the US earlier. We were talking about how did the Americans get it right? How did the British get it right? How did the whole of Europe? How did Australia? How did North America and South America get it right? How did the entire world get it right except South Africa? How is it that we were able to create COSATU itself, the Labour Federation, the biggest one in the country, in 1985? We were able to get them to force a change in government from the apartheid regime into a new dispensation. They were able to take labour law and change it. But we didn't get that. How did we not?